Hello, welcome to the Minimalist EDC. My name's Chris, and today we're going to do some disassembly and maintenance on this guy right here. I'm also going to talk about some of my philosophy when buying secondhand knives. So if you don't have this specific knife and you're interested in what to look out for when buying off the secondary market and how to fix a few things that could be wrong with them, stick around. We're going to talk about a few things like that as well. And if you like these type of videos, give me a like and subscribe. We're growing this YouTube channel, this community, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. So I got this off the secondary market a few days ago. I've had it in my pocket, given it some carry time. Really like it. I was a little curious how I'd like this. It is on the bigger side for me. My normal EDC is a bit smaller than this, a little bit more compact, not nearly as heavy. But it is winter weather, wearing jeans. So this guy can sit in the pocket pretty easily and not weigh me down. And I really like it. Like, it is a gorgeous knife with the big belly and the clip point. So let's get into it. If we are going to disassemble a knife, you're going to need a few things. So when I get ready to do this, I get everything ready. So first thing is going to be, you're going to need some rubbing alcohol. I also like to have some blue Loctite handy. Some paper towels. I have those off camera. You're going to need your knife pivot lube to make sure that it moves really good. I'm just kidding. We have some KPL right here. And we are going to need our tools. I am going to be using this guy right here, the Wehr driver bit set. So it's pretty affordable. You can get these on Amazon. We're probably just going to need a T8, T6, I imagine, but we got the whole set here if the need arises. So that's where I start with. I get those handy and ready. So I'm going to grab let's see, which one is this? This is the, oh Lord, T6, and I'm guessing, let's see. Man, these are small. That's T9. And T6, T8. Got it. All right. We are ready to roll. So, first things first. When taking apart a knife to clean it, there's so many different variations on a knife, and there's so many different ways to take one apart. You don't always have to take out all the screws. So the first thing I do is look and see, all right, I got 2 screws here. I got a pivot screw. I've got this guy right here, which is our lock bar insert, and we got 2 screws back here that are holding in the clip, and then one little hidden one under here that's just like on the same side as this. There's a few things. I am going to take this fully apart because I'm curious about the mechanisms and I want to see how everything works. But a lot of times you don't have to. Like, I'm almost positive these 2 screws do not have to come out. And why is that? Because I think these 2 screws are just holding in this micarta insert, and they're not actually doing anything. So as far as they're not doing anything to functionally hold the knife together, I'm pretty certain that one back there and one of these screws does the same thing. So these 2 screws are going to have to come out, but I bet that one doesn't. And it's kind of interesting. So looking at, let's say, here is the TRM Neutron 2. These 2 screws and these 2 screws hold in the scales. One of the nice things about this knife is you can take the scales off independently of taking the knife completely apart. And other knives of this size or this type of make don't have that feature. Looking at other knives that are of this type of quality, also probably Riet made, if I'm looking at a few of them here. Like, this is the Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. And you see we have titanium bolsters and then a carbon, not carbon fiber, well, yeah, no, fat carbon inlay right here. And that is smooth. There is no real transition. And then you get that same thing here. However, this is glued in or epoxied or resin or something. Like, they are putting that in there and they're making sure it never comes out. Now, this one, let's this may all be for naught, but let's put my suspicions to rest. That's a T6. Let's go to the T8. Yeah. Thankfully not crazy hard Loctited in. All right. And always keep your screws together because there's a lot of times different threading and different sizes. So I know that these are going to be my scale screws. Let's see. there it goes. Okay, so we end up with a piece of micarta. And so why would you want to do this? So one, it looks like he's got some other hidden screws here, and this is hiding them and allowing for the user to take this off so it can access them. But also, this piece right here, this allows for the maker to potentially sell aftermarket parts. Like, let's say you wanted to change this to a carbon fiber look or a green micarta or something else. Theoretically, they could just have these produced and sell them on their website. Also, third-party manufacturers might do that if this knife were extremely popular, like the bug out. There's so many people that make accessories for the bug out. So I may have to take back what I said about necessarily taking this off, because I see 2 more screws down here and they may be required to be taken out. So I'm going to put the piece of micarta right over here along with its screws, and then I'm going to look at the back as well. So let's get this pocket clip out. And see what we have here. Usually these pocket clips screws will be 2 different lengths, so just note that when you're taking apart a knife. So these may not be, well, one's so you see they're the same length when they're set in, but one is set deeper, so I imagine they're not the same length. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to leave them in the clip. That way I know where they are and I know what orientation they go in. And so now I've got this guy right here. Another piece of micarta. All right, and it comes out. So front and back micarta and the screws that go along with it. So let's talk about why I'm taking this apart other than just curiosity. The detent is a bit tight for my liking. That is not a knock on this knife. If that is the way it was designed, it is a personal preference that I don't need a detent that's quite as tight as this. Also, I can feel the insides of this. It feels a little gritty. So remember, when you're buying something off the secondary, you're not only buying the knife, you're buying the previous person's pocket gunk as well that got in this thing, because they're not going to clean it before they send it to you. So I do want to break this down, clean it real well, and put it back together. I think it'll be running real good after that. Normally I don't do a detent adjust. It's only in cases where I really want to dial it in, but we'll go to that in a minute because we will have to take that screw out. Normally you don't. So looking here, another thing to look for. So you have a T8 here and a T8 here. What does that mean? It means this is not a captured pivot. So I do not like this. It is something that annoys me, but it is what it is. So let's look back at this Neutron 2. I have a bit here and none here. That means when I turn this, this thing is locked. This does not move. So when I turn this screw, it'll come out. This guy, it has 2 T8s, so it means they will turn together. And so what I'm going to do and see if this will work, sometimes you have to get 2 screwdrivers and go in opposite directions to get them out. If it hasn't been Loctited too tight, or if there's no Loctite at all, a lot of times I can just press my finger here with enough friction and it looks like it's going to let me. So I can feel this screw wanting to turn under my finger, but I'm putting enough pressure on it that is not allowing it to do so, and it is allowing me to pull this out. If it had been Loctited, I wouldn't be able to do this, and I'd have to go get a second T8 to get this guy out. And this is gritty. Oh my goodness. I can feel the gunk. All right, so I'm gonna try. It's interesting. It's turning, but it's only coming out this far. Maybe you just need to keep going. Let's see. If you don't know, when I go into these disassemblies, I have never taken this knife apart. I am going in as blind as you are, and so it is a little bit of a journey that you're going on with me. So I'm going to have to get out a secondary T8 because it's not. Oh, well, that's why. I guess this one just popped out, and this one, it is not wanting to move. It almost feels like it's a bit cross-threaded. I'm gonna leave that there for the moment because I don't know what's going on with it, and if it is cross-threaded, I don't want to damage it. So I'm looking at these 2 screws down here. They look smaller. Verifying. they are T6. So we're going to pull this guy out and put our pivot screw over there and get these guys out. Yep. It does help to have a magnetic screwdriver because you don't want to lose these little things. They are almost impossible to find different ones. And I'm putting my T6s over here, make sure I don't confuse them. And I'm pretty sure I can just pop this scale off now. It's a little, doesn't want to let me take it off, so I'm going to never force it. It'll come off eventually, but you don't want to bend or break anything. I have a little, it's a little guitar picky looking thing that allows me to kind of get up under these things and just kind of wedge it in there to move it. Aha, there we go. And so we have our scale. And what was causing the problem is this pin right here, which was causing some friction. Okay, so this is going to allow us to take our blade off. So we got our blade, and this is our bearing. And on the other side, okay, there it goes. Yep, it came right out. It's just a little bit of friction that was causing our problem. And so I don't have to take these screws out down here because they are holding in the backspacer, and that's fine. The backspacer, unless I really, really wanted to get under there and clean, which I'm not that anal about it, I'm going to let that go. So I'm gonna grab some paper towels and we will start getting this thing cleaned. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of rubbing alcohol onto my cloth. I just use a paper towel. Like, it'd probably be better if you use a microfiber cloth or something that doesn't have lint or couldn't pill up. But I find I'm not rubbing that hard and I'm not going to produce pilling anyway. So just get in there, get any gunk off. But the big thing is, let's see, does this bearing racer come out? Is the question. I guess I have a knife here with a very pointy tip. I can probably figure it out. It looks like it does move out. So I want that bearing racer to come. There it is. And you see what I'm dealing with, let's see if I can get you. See that gunk that's in there? Like, that's what was causing the gritty feeling when I was trying to flick this earlier. And so we're going to get that cleaned. First, I'm going to clean the bearing racer, which is right here. You see that kind of gunk that's coming off of it, that black stuff? Yeah. And this happens to every knife that actually is a user. You're going to have to do maintenance on it. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's functioning properly. And I usually just do maintenance as needed. Like, I don't have a maintenance schedule for my knives because, you know, I'm using a knife once or twice a week, and then I'm switching to another one because I have the luxury to do so, and I like experiencing different knives, so I do it. All right. Let me see. And if you're doing this, just be careful. Like, I'm not piercing it. I'm just using it to get underneath that guy. And I'll clean out in here. Yeah. Also, a Q-tip works really good in this. If you're having any problems and you need a little more like abrasion power, you can get a Q-tip and get up in there. But this is working pretty fine for me. I'm able to get the vast majority of it out without the need. Let me get the other side as well. Okay, so the next and one of the most important things to clean is the actual bearings, because they are filthy, and if the bearings are gritty, your knife will never work right. So we end up with these nice caged bearings. These are pretty sweet. I applaud the manufacturer or the maker for insisting on the good bearings. And what I'm doing here is I'm just rubbing it across. So all these little bearings are free spinning balls, right? And so as I roll it across the alcohol, it's taking it up into the bearing and hopefully cleaning it out and getting the gunk out and any little gritty pieces. So we got that one done. This one's much blacker. So I'm wondering if this one came into contact with something else or if that's just the way it looks. because you see this one's like coppery and where the one beside it is black. It's very interesting that maybe this one, if it is copper, maybe it's just oxidized. I don't know. But most of the black is not coming off, so I'm guessing it is an oxidation reaction. But the bearings are free spinning. I can feel them under my thumb as I move it around. So there we have it. It is cleaned. And now, oh, I'm sorry. It is not cleaned. We actually have to deal with the blade itself. And this is pretty easy. We just get that and rub it down, get all the gunk out of there. And so if you haven't been in a knife before, let me tell you what we're looking at. So you end up having your area where the bearings sit. You have your detent ball hole, and then you see this track right here. This is where the detent ball rolls across the knife. You want all these things to be well cleaned and well lubricated, and so that the detent ball can do its job. And interesting, it has a detent ball over on the other side as well, which is kind of interesting. Or maybe, I'm sorry, it's just drilled through. It's a lot of times it won't be drilled through. I'm sorry, I'm getting that off camera. It won't be drilled through. It'll just be drilled into the thing. But this one is 100% through. Something to think about. Make sure you actually get it clean if there's any grime in that hole. Then, so just make sure it's clean. Again, a Q-tip works very well here if you need one. All right. So we got this thing taken apart. And this is the part that I don't normally do because it is a pain in the butt, but I want to adjust our detent. And so we see right here we have the lock bar and we have the detent ball and then this is the screw that holds this in. The reason why this exists is because this is made out of titanium, and titanium when it interfaces with the steel, it's a different hardness, and you end up with a stickier lock face because the titanium and the steel don't slide across each other. You actually end up with more it's not really friction, but you can get deformities and some other things, and so they put a steel lock insert in this thing so that it does not have that type of problem. And I see another issue here where, as I'm looking at this, do you see the crud that's in the pivot hole? That's that crunchy stuff that I was dealing with when I was turning that screw. So I need to get that out as well. I'm going to see if I can't just ream it out. Yeah, it came out pretty easily, and it's just kind of like a grimy substance that's in there. And then we'll take a look at the other one. Similar, but not as bad. We'll get it out, though. That show side was the worst. Okay. And then we can actually clean this off, too, if it has any traces of that gunk. Oh, it does. It absolutely does. So we will get this guy all shiny again. Okay. And so for this detent ball, we'll get back to that. What we're going to want to do is take this screw out, which will allow us to take the plate out. See this little nubbin right here? This is what keeps your lock bar from overextending. So when you're opening the knife and pushing against this, it keeps this thing from overextending, which is going to deform it and make the lock bar less rigid or less springy. And so I actually want to do that in this case, so I'm gonna have to take that guy out. And I'm guessing, yeah, it looks like probably a T6. Yeah. Nope, I was wrong. T8. And usually these guys are Loctited in because most normal maintenance doesn't involve removing it. So don't be surprised if you have to push a little harder to get these guys out. All right. It is not wanting to give me access. Bear with me. It's like I got it loosened, but then it's free spinning, so there it goes. Just had to knock it out. So I'm going to put this separately up here because that is a very special screw that doesn't go anywhere else. And now I got to get this guy out. So I'm going to use my pry tool again. Be very careful with this piece. It does have the detent ball in it. If you lose that or it pops out, you are going to have a problem. These things are a lot of times very solidly put in there. So I'm just working my little pry tool around, trying to find a gap, trying to get anywhere I can just move this out because it's like a puzzle piece that's perfectly fit. And then it eventually, I'm hoping it just comes right out of my hand. Goodness, that is so tightly fit in there. Wonder if I get this little guy as a pry bar, or I don't know if I'm going to get this out. Interesting. Doing my very level best not to do anything near that detent ball. Let's see, I have some other little tools here that could be useful. Ah, there we go. Just a little bit of wiggling. And so we have our detent ball, we have our screw, and then we have this piece right here. So by doing that, it allows me to overextend this past where it would go. And this doesn't take much. Quite literally, a little goes a long way. And if you don't do it enough, you can always put the knife back together, reassess, and figure out where you're going. So I'm going to push it a little past its travel stop and then hold it there for a second. And then push a little travel stop, hold it there for a second. That's all. That's all I need to do. I believe that will get me to the point where I have a little bit less tension in my lock bar. So just like a puzzle piece, like I said before, you're going to reassemble this guy. It should, if I level it in there, yep, pop it right in. And we are going to put it back together. All right. Well, that's solid. Good to go. Next, let's see, where do I want to attack from? All right. So I'm going to put this like that. Let me get our pivot in there. Oh, it is tight. Hold on, there it goes. Pivot goes in. Next, I'm going to want to grab some KPL. And I like to just put like 1 or 2 drops on either side. Little do you. I mean, you can go overboard. It will just leak out, but won't hurt anything. Get that guy in there. I'm going to put 1, 2, 3. Then sometimes I just give it a little spin to work it into the mechanism. Next, we're going to get our blade. Put that guy in there. It's like assembling a sandwich, and then you just want a little bit of lubrication between each layer of your sandwich. Aha! Those keen-eyed among you realize I already screwed up. Give me a second. Not every knife will have a bearing racer. That basically is just, like I told you about the friction between titanium and steel. The bearing racer allows you to have a steel interface between the bearing and the frame of the knife. And so by adding that bearing racer in there, it's bearings on steel versus bearings on titanium. So I'm going to get this back together. Get that guy on there. 1, 2, and then just give it a little spin. At this step, I want to put just a thin trail of lubrication on the detent ball path and the hole to make sure that is good and ready to go. Next, I'm going to grab our scale and put in our steel washer. And make sure, like, if you've been moving this thing around, sometimes the post will roll off, but ideally the post will, this one will socket in here and that one down there will socket in here, and we can start putting in screws to hold it together. Yep, that feels about right. I like to put in the pivot first because that will hold it together, and if anything is off, by putting in the pivot you will usually know about it real quick because it will not go. I'm not going to Loctite it. At this point in time, it would be usually prudent to use some Loctite on the pivot screw because that will allow it to stick. I might want to take this apart again later to do a little bit more adjustments on this lock bar interface, so I'm not going to get I'm not going to stick it just yet, but like at this point in time, you can flick it out. That felt real good. I wish I gave you a before at this point, but like it was not drop shutty at all. It was really hard to get closed from a just a gravity perspective, but I can see that already we're doing pretty good. And so don't really have any wiggle room. I might be able to go just a half of a quarter turn tighter just to get it good. Yeah, all right. So next, let's just go ahead and take care of the show side scale. Is that a tongue twister? All right. Get this bad boy back together. And also don't force a screw in. I know we're wrapping up, but I would appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe. That would be wonderful of you. Help me grow this channel and this community. All right, we are going to get this guy together. So we have 2 screws that need to go here. I'm going to go back to our T6. Here's 1. And here's 2. Then we got this guy. Right back to T8. And having a driver like this is wonderful. Like I really appreciate these Wehr bits because they are phenomenal. All right, and then lastly, we are going to get this whole thing situated. And then we'll take a look at the final product and see if we're happy with it. If you do this to your knives, I'd love to know if you have any different steps, and if you are new to this and have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to give you my thoughts. I'm no expert, but I've been doing this a while. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of cleanup here, move our tools away. And so here's what we've got. We've got the Wehr Lucas P. Oh, that feels so much better. It's not the most drop shutty knife. I don't expect it's going to be. I could loosen this detent bar up just a little bit more, I think. And since it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, I might wait till the next time I actually maintenance this knife to do it, because it's like you've seen, it's a process. But it looks and feels real good. It flicks. It flies out a lot faster than it used to. And the detent is where, well, we're working that oil in there. It's falling down just by gravity. Okay, I think I can live with this. Well, thank you for joining me on this. I really appreciate it. A like, comment, and subscribe would be great. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Y'all have a great day.